Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Mehta, and I'm editor of Fast Company. I'm very excited to speak to two accomplished professionals about an extraordinary initiative. Jennifer Doudna is the Li Ka-shing Chancellor's Professor of Biomedical Science at the University of California, Berkeley. She is also the founder and president of the Innovative Genomics Institute. Her groundbreaking development of CRISPR-Cas9 as a genome engineering technology with collaborator Emmanuelle Charpentier earned the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Tory Burch is executive chairman and chief creative officer of her own brand, Tory Burch. She is also the founder of the Tory Burch Foundation, which has developed programs and initiatives that invest in the success and sustainability of women-owned businesses. In its 12 years, the foundation has likely touched the lives of tens of thousands of women through its education programs, its fellowships, and its webinars, and its access to capital initiatives, and so much more. And today, these leaders are speaking with us exclusively about the Tory Burch Fellowship at the Innovative Genomics Institute to support a woman entrepreneur leading, growing, and scaling a business in genomics. Welcome, Tory Burch and Jennifer Doudna.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
There's so much ground to cover, but let's start with the fellowship itself. Tory, tell us what the fellowship is and what it provides to one of the fellows.
I mean, first, there's never been a more important time for women in science. And when I think about Dr. Doudna, I think of the most preeminent scientists, not woman scientists. And I think that's an amazing distinction. But when we started thinking about our fellows, and we had very few we actually had none that were engaged in any kind of science at all. So this is a year-long program, and we have a wonderful woman, entrepreneur named Nabiha Suklayan, and she's going to be working with Jennifer and her team. And she's going to be between Boston and California. We together with IGR are going to give a $10,000 grant for her education. And then IGI will give her $50,000 for research. And she is a laser physicist. I'm a little embarrassed to say I had to really look that up and really find out exactly what that was. But what she's doing is extraordinary. And she's creating the first system to produce high quality human cells and personalizing them. And she's making it more accessible and cost effective. And that's something that I'm so interested in.
And we're going to get to her story a little bit more later in the interview. Dr. Doudna, how did this fellowship come together?
Well, I feel very excited about this fellowship. It's frankly just the kind of thing that is needed right now in STEM. You know, being a brilliant scientist doesn't automatically make someone a brilliant business person. And there's a lot to learn. A lot of scientists are a bit nervous to make that leap. And this is where this program at the Innovative Genomics Institute comes in. Part of our mission at the Innovative Genomics Institute is to be the bridge between research and real world impact. Starting a company is a great way to ensure that happens in a way that maintains a vision towards inventive science, but making sure that it's progressing in a way that leads to practical solutions to real world problems. And we're very excited to be working with Tory Burch in particular to support women in this regard.
And so, Tory, did you reach out to IGI? How did the actual fellowship come to be, and who made the introductions?
You know, we've been friends for a little while. We were on a board of a startup together, so we got to know each other a little. And I'm not sure who reached out to who. I've been admiring the work of IGI from a distance. And I think the interesting thing we realized is that they are doing these breakthrough technologies and research, and we have business education and a community of women. And so the combination can be an extraordinary partnership. I think one thing that women need is networking and community, regardless of the business they're in. A lot of them have many of the same issues. So having that is invaluable.
Yeah, Dr. Doudna, talk a little bit about your own entrepreneurial journey. I know a lot of people know your name from the Nobel Prize and they followed your work as a scientist, but many may not realize that you're also a co-founder.
Yeah, so my journey as an entrepreneur is kind of interesting and maybe is emblematic of what a number of scientists go through, because I started my career back in the 90s working on very fundamental questions in biology. Believe me, I never imagined at that time that I would ever be in a position to start my own company or be involved in commercialization of work that I was involved in. And that really changed for me about 10 years ago or so, when it was clear that some of our research in the early days of CRISPR work was likely to be leading to tools that would be valuable in research, and we thought in other areas as well. And so that led to founding, the first company that I founded was Caribou Biosciences, which with a wonderful scientist, happens to be a woman, Rachel Horowitz, who is still our CEO and president of Caribou. And that experience led me to, I realized how much I didn't know. And in a way has been a real motivator for this program, because I've realized that for many people, and I think in particular for women, there are barriers to getting into entrepreneurship and business that we can address. And those barriers just have to, partly they're cultural, partly they have to do with the way that women, I think, are educated, especially in this country, and the expectations of women. And so I think these are all areas where this program will be able to address those needs.
Tory, as we said at the beginning, you've been mentoring and supporting women entrepreneurs for at least a dozen years, if not longer. What has gotten better as you've seen new cohorts of women coming into the various fellowships and the different programs that you offer? And where do you see women still struggling?
I mean, I think number one, childcare is one of the big issues where women they're trying to solve for that. There are often single mothers, they're taking care of their children, but I do feel the confidence in women has changed, and having the ability for them to believe in themselves, I feel it's a turning point. And I see that the support behind women from women, but also from men, I think it's a shift, and an important one. So there's a lot to do. And I think having partnerships like this and fellowships like this is such an incredible start to promote women in science, but women in business. And I think that we all have to support each other, but we need men to be part of that conversation. I think that's a big one.
This question is for either Tory Burch or Jennifer Doudna. You mentioned Nabiha Saklayan, who's the first fellow in this Tory Burch IGI fellowship. She's obviously extraordinary. I've had a chance to speak with her enthusiasm, her intelligence, and the quality of her science is enormous. How important was it when you were evaluating potential fellows, especially for this first fellow? How important was the commercialization piece? Did you really want a fellow who was on a path to commercialization of their science and the technology?
So what really caught my eye about Nabiha's proposal was her company's mission and their focus on making health innovations accessible. Right now, cell-based therapies are very expensive, and although exciting, are right now just not accessible or affordable to most people. So that means that breakthrough therapies are only available to a small number of individuals. As an example, the first generation of CRISPR-based sickle cell disease treatments cost on the order of $2 million. And a lot of that is due to the stem cell manufacturing that has to be done. So Nabiha's company, Celino, is trying to decrease that cost by a factor of 1,000. So, this is, I think, a really interesting example of a great scientific need, a really interesting business opportunity with a very important social mission of making technology available to all.
Yeah, and any business we look at, we think about impact and scale and the viability for a long-lasting concept that will change the world. And honestly, Jennifer is doing that. Nabia has the potential to do that and is already well on her way. I think being an entrepreneur, you are one, Jennifer. She is already one. She's started her journey. But if we can all help in a small way, that's a very exciting prospect for us.
I want to conclude kind of where we started, which is talking about science. We have lived through a period where people have seen incredible feats right before their eyes with the development of a vaccine in about a year's time. But we've also seen a lot of skepticism about science, perhaps an unprecedented level of skepticism. And Dr. Doudna, I'd just love for you as a scientist, but also as somebody who cares deeply about future generations, to talk a little bit about where we see ourselves in this trajectory right now, and perhaps why it is more important than ever to have these dynamic young scientists like Nabiha being role models for a new generation of would-be scientists or people who just, have come to appreciate what science can do for our everyday lives.
As you said, Stephanie, it's been an extraordinary year in both positive and negative ways. We're all familiar with the negative, but on the positive side, the success of science in the midst of this terrible pandemic has been just extraordinary. And it's coming at a time when there are so many opportunities for young scientists, exciting technologies that are coming along, opportunities for biological research to integrate increasingly with data science, with computer science, artificial intelligence, algorithms that are going to allow us to mine data in ways that were not previously possible. And so, boy, what an exciting time to be starting out and starting a career in STEM. So I think that the opportunities are large. And, again, our vision at the Innovative Genomics Institute is to make those opportunities as widely available as possible. We always encourage people to pursue their passions. And if those passions take them in a direction where they want to start a company, where they think that can be impactful, we'd like to be there to help them do it.
Jennifer Doudna, Tory Burch, thank you so much for your time today and best of luck on the fellowship.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.